Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Theoman222 versus YueJin in the third round of the third Asia Pacific tournament. Today we're going to be seeing Omaha, and on the Allied side, the 101st in the hands of Theoman, and the 9th Panzer in the hands of YueJin. We haven't seen Theoman222 in the tournament so far. He gained a bye through round 1 and 2 after his opponents did not show up for both rounds. So has found his way here without any practice really, unless obviously he's playing the game himself, but in terms of tournament practice, none at all compared to YueJin, who has won his previous 2 games. So Theoman has quite a lot of work to do, especially against YueJin, who is a well-renowned opponent in the Steel Division competitive community, at least. Now, there is one thing I wanted to state before I start the commentary today, and that is that the 4th Asia Pacific tournament is going to be going ahead this weekend. So if anyone is interested in getting involved, I'll leave the link to the challenge in the description and also hopefully in a comment, whereby you guys can click on that. You can see the description, and in that description there is a sign up link as well if you want to get involved. So Pro Soccer is open to a few more people joining that tournament if you'd like to. It's a very interesting tournament. Everybody has to pick a division and stick with that division throughout the entirety. So we'll see people with, like, for example, picking the 716th. They have to play that division throughout the entire tournament, no matter what they come up against, and no matter what map they get. So that's going to really be interesting, and we'll have to wait and see what division comes out on top and how many different divisions there are actually chosen, because that will tell us, you know, if there's a solid favorite amongst players or whether or not everyone has their own favorites. So yeah, that'll be really, really interesting. But for now, we're going to be continuing with the 3rd Asia Pacific tournament, and let's have a look at what units are going down on either side. So up here we've got WC52 or 25, sorry, with some recon there. We've got an AT squad with the command infantry and a machine gun. So relatively light forces, honestly, for this top side, but that AT weapon and the bazooka will be able to sort of cut off any units trying to come up the road there. So that's something at least. In the center, looks like there's going to be some sort of artillery. Most likely an M1 howitzer, in my opinion. Then we have airborne engineers with some pathfinders. There's going to be command infantry coming in with those as well. And on the bottom side, looks like another WC25 with probably 50 cals. We got airborne rifles, most likely, command infantry, and the M22 Locust. It's not a command variant, so that's pretty interesting, but still pretty scary for the Panzer IIs and Panzer Is that YueJin's going to have access to on the side of the 9th Panzer. On this very top side, it is going to be a command infantry. There's going to be some Panzergrens up there, Panzer II Lux. For the middle of the map, there's going to be some speed troop and the Panzergrens there. Panzer II Lux heading towards the bottom side, with the command infantry and some Panzergrens, and on the very bottom it's going to be a Panzer I-C command infantry, Sturm Pioneers, and the Panzergrens. And we've also got the speed troop at the very bottom there, providing that half track that will hold the front line forwards. And this was indeed an M1 howitzer, so that's going to be providing smoke by the looks of things, allowing some of this infantry to advance. We'll have to have a look at what sort of engagements go on. Looks like the Panzer II Lux here took out that AT infantry, so a decent kill for YueJin early on the top side may allow him to get very aggressive with that Panzer II Lux. Going into the town here, we see the Panzer I-C. That's going to be opening up onto the infantry on the road here. Wow, absolutely decimating the airborne leader. Oh my god, they actually died completely before smoke could even go down, and that was a very impressive kill there from YueJin. That removes that command infantry that may allow this Panzer I to really go ham onto these engineers. Like, that is a tank after all. These flamethrowers won't do a lot of damage to a Panzer I-C. I mean, if that Panzer I-C, say, comes into this gap between the buildings here, it could definitely help pin these units very quickly and force surrenders now that command infantry is dead. And YueJin most definitely saw that happen. He focused the command infantry over anything else, and getting rid of that was very nice indeed. But doesn't look like he wants to sit in the way of this 50 cal, nor the M22 actually, which is getting command from the airborne leader Winters. As long as he stays in range of that, looks like Theoman is aware of it. Panzer II looks going to be coming out to engage that by the looks of things. We'll be stopping to fire. Let's see how this M22 does. Pretty well. Wow, the one shot there onto the Panzer II looks is a very nice outcome indeed for Theoman. That's definitely removed a lot of the pressure that these armoured units can bring from YueJin. That is exceptional, really, from the M22 here. Getting that one-shot kill. Did have the one-star veterancy thanks to the command moving forwards, but there we go. Stern Pioneers are doing a runner after the airborne engineers did make them fall back. Also, the M1 howitzer was coming in with some shots, so that was helpful. But now going for the attack onto the half-track. That's going to continue the half-track back. These airborne engineers are going to try and make some ground into the town here, and if they do get into that position, it could be quite hard to dislodge them on the side of YueJin. We'll have to wait and see. These airborne leaders, are they on an attack move? I feel like that's probably a bad idea. Still managed to kill that half-track though, and get themselves into cover. Order fire is, however, going to pin them down. Panzer I only needs to drive towards them to get that surrender. On the top side, things are stabilising. M22 has been brought in. There's also an AT gun up there, but for the mid, it looks like the salient has been giving YueJin a +1 for now. We'll have to see if Theoman can rectify that, because he doesn't want to be losing too many points early on. Airborne rifles. Going to try and move towards these buildings. Going to get caught out in the open, though, in the face of 2 MG42s. That's not a place they want to be. Panzergrens are going to get themselves pinned down and hit very hard. Stern Pioneers, though, only need to hit those airborne engineers with a little bit of flames, and they are surrendered. The command here hasn't been replaced, so these airborne engineers are in a pretty precarious situation. And it looks like this Panzer I is also going to be coming to the mid here to help wreck these airborne rifles. And you'll see the damage really start to go down there. The 14 HE from this Panzer I is incredible sometimes. We saw how quickly it killed that command. AT gun has been brought in for YueJin on this top side. That's going to hopefully clean up the M22 for him, allowing the Panzer II looks a little bit more freedom. But in general, the 50-50 is like here at the start. So you can see how much ground that YueJin has in comparison to Theoman. Like even on this top side, actually it might have been more like here. I think it is. Either way, allowing YueJin to get basically control of these buildings. I know he's not in there, but he could easily walk into those buildings. That's not good for Theoman on the top side, because it definitely gives him a lot more sort of ground to work around. Both players are going to be starting to move their forces on this top side. Pak 38 has line of sight onto the M22. M22 can't really do too much at range versus a Pak 38, not like a Panzer II can do versus an M3 gun, because it just only has 1 HE on its main gun. Fortunate there that the M22 didn't get killed by those 2 shots from the Pak 38, but that doesn't have any veterancy, so that would explain why it was so inaccurate. Panzer I, that's going to be engaging this 50 cal now. Stern Pioneers have managed to get themselves back into a half-decent position there. New Panzer II looks arriving on the bottom side. It looks like this M22 is going to be looking for that engagement shortly. So the pressure going on both sides of the map. At close range, this M22, it hasn't stopped. And Panzer II looks going to clean that up. I don't believe that M22 was on a attack move command, and that really allowed the Panzer II looks there to get the job done. Stern Pioneers are suffering in the face of the airborne engineers. As soon as those airborne engineers get line of sight again, those Stern Pioneers are dead. But the Panzer I, however, is not so dead, and will probably rip to shreds these airborne engineers very quickly. Most certainly he does, even forces a surrender there. It looks like we do see mortar fire coming in from the side of YueJin. onto this 50 cal. Going to try and pin that down and do some damage there. M1 howitzer has been brought in on the top side to help out, but I'm not entirely convinced that bringing in more M1 howitzers at the moment is the way to go. I would think you'd need more M22s at this point, and maybe he's just brought them all in already. Panzergrenz going to get pinned, however the half-track going to return the favour. Pathfinders will be bumped into eventually. It looks like this Pack 38 there, the target of the M1 howitzer, as those Pathfinders are spotting it. But just in general, both players playing across the entire map, and it's good to see the micro coming out from both sides, definitely keeping me on my toes as I'm trying to keep an eye on where the action is occurring. But yeah, 3 M1 howitzers now from Theoman. I don't know if that's excessive or not, but it looks like he definitely wants to kill this Pack 38 quickly on the top. Panzer II looks not going to be scared to get in the face of this M3 gun and M22 apparently. But YueJin eventually thinking better of that. Panzergren might have a chance to pin down the M3 gun though, and if that occurs, Panzer II looks definitely going to be able to get more aggressive. And the mortar is going to be firing away at the same time, and now that only needs to land one shot relatively nearby in order to find the kill. And without an AT gun up there, that could make things very difficult for Theoman. That is going to go down. For the mid, airborne rifles actually managing to get relatively far up. These Panzergrens aren't able to fire on them because they're blocked by the house there. The line of sight not really coming into effect. It's going to be Panzer 1C and the Panzer II Lux versus the M22 Command. And it looks like the M22 is going to win. Pops the Panzer II Lux there. And I really like that Theoman has focused on these locusts. They've really done him favours. Now, Panzergrenführer are going to get killed on the top side. That's a nice kill actually for the Pathfinders here because it removes the veterancy from all of these units. But with those Pathfinders gone, so is the information that Theoman needs to stop this push from coming through. And this Pack 38 now can probably sneak up into a position whereby he can get a shot onto this M22, and as soon as that's sort of pinned, the Panzer II Lux can go ham and really get some decent kills on that side. Panzergrens eventually jumped forwards a building, are going to force back those airborne rifles. The M22 did find the kill onto the Panzer 1. These airborne engineers are going to be falling back from the Panzergrens and Panzergrenführer in these buildings, but the mortar fire is going to come down, pin those airborne engineers. Mortar fire now continuing up here. Not sure if YueJin saw the M3 gun go down. Unless he's just trying to mortar the airborne rifles he's assuming are moving into this tree line. The lack of recon here, though, could be an issue. In a sense that you can't spot any AT guns that do come into these tree lines. Not easily, anyway. Not without running infantry basically directly into them. His infantry availability on this bottom side as well from YueJin is getting low, but the Pack 38 there is going to find a kill, I think, onto the M22. So that's one M22 gone down in the mid. New one is already on the way though. But yeah, infantry availability down here is very, very thin from YueJin. He's got 1 man left in his Panzergren squad, 3 men in the Panzergrenführer, and then 3 men in the Speedtroop. And it looks like the airborne rifles are taking advantage of that at the moment, just pushing up. But we have moved into Phase B, and YueJin's going to be rolling out with a Befehl Panzer IV. We see the mortar fire coming down on top of these airborne rifles once again. It looks like they did open up onto the Pack 38. The mortar's going to be getting involved as well. Panzergren's now getting threatened by the M22 at range. So, YueJin's falling back on the top side, just going to regroup. Looks like he's got some more command infantry and recon on the way, so that's going to help him out a little bit. But more recon availability, or more infantry availability down here is going to be important. Otherwise, eventually, Theoman's going to be getting into these buildings with airborne rifles and airborne engineers, and that's going to make things very difficult to come back from for YueJin. Now, YueJin is still pushing the +1, so we see 640 points in his favour. New Sturm Pioneers are arriving. But yeah, the Pathfinders here, as you can see, have made ground, have managed to get into the town, pretty much uncontested. And that's not good to see at all from YueJin. The Pathfinders are going to actually take a lot of mortar fire there, and that is... I'm not entirely convinced about this movement from Theoman, because he allowed the Pathfinders there to take a lot of suppression unnecessarily. Now this M22 is using its machine gun to engage the speed troop, but it looks like this Panzer IV is going to be used to try and kill off this M22. Was put on an attack move, I think, but it stopped to attack that 50 cal. I'm not sure that YueJin wants to risk an engagement at that close range. It could easily fall in favor of the M22. Like, that's 400 meter range. That M22 would have about 12 AP versus the 8 armor of the Panzer IV, so bit of a risk there. Mortar fire continues on the top side. Pathfinders have been replaced up here. I'm surprised Theoman managed to get them that close. AA is coming in on the side of YueJin. Maybe expecting Mustangs to come in with the bombers, or even Thunderbolts. Panzer IV here going to be engaging infantry on the bottom side. Airborne rifles have made it into these buildings, but Stern Pioneer is going to smoke that off so they get their ideal engagement range as opposed to being attacked by the 30 cals from range. Panzergren still hammering the 50 cal. M1 howitzers. I don't know, they haven't really been making too much of a dent at the moment. This Pak 38 there just popping that M22. Yeah, I just feel like there's like 4 howitzers on this map on the side of Theoman, and the thing is with playing around M1 howitzers is they are extremely slow, and generally you do them when you're playing defense on like a 3v3, 4v4. In this case, I'm not entirely convinced. More focusing on planes and then, you know, ground forces like the M4s is generally a better way to do it in phase A and B. So I like the use of the M22s, for example. That was really nice. But use those in combination with planes to make quick plays. It's probably a lot better. Like, you can use the Mustang bombers in order to kill or pin down certain units and rush them with the M22s. Now this airborne rifle certainly went ham here, finished off the last man in that Panzergren squad and killed off the command infantry, also won against the Stern Pioneers. So yeah, the lack of infantry availability that I stated previously has ceded the town now to Theoman, and that, if that gets reinforced, could make things very difficult indeed. Now this Panzer IV did manage to clean up the 2 units of infantry on the bottom side. It is going to be coming up against this M22 Locust at close range. See if the Panzer IV can do the job. We'll definitely have a lot more suppression than the M22, but the M22 going to do the job, and that is what I was talking about earlier. YueJin definitely needs to be careful of those engagements because they can fall in favor of the M22s at close range. They have enough AP to make that happen, and that's exactly what you saw there. Now the Stug 3 does have a driver wounded, still able to fire though at the M4DD. M22 coming into this top side, but YueJin still maintaining the +1. There have been quite a lot of unfavourable engagements for YueJin, and I'm surprised that he is holding on so well. But again, I think it mainly comes down to the slow play out of Theoman, relying on howitzers over fast ground forces. And I know there's a lot of infantry that makes that hard to do, but it's still something that I think you can focus on with 101st, like bringing in loads of M22s like he did, and then M4s. Now fortunately, wherever the M22s have been, most of them have been taken out. The M4 of course being forced back in the mid here due to the Stug. But yeah, M22, that looks like it's going to be trying to take out this SDKFZ if it can. Pak 38, however, getting into position might make things difficult. Yep, is going to be opening up onto the M22. The placement of these AT guns from YueJin has actually worked out pretty well throughout the game so far. Only 51% territory lead left at the moment. Now it looks like Theoman's trying to get a bit aggressive here. Both of his airborne rifles, though, are being forced back. There is one standing up at the front, but under the fire of the machine gun of the half-track, that's not going to last too long. M22 can that be taken out by something? It remains to be seen, because there's no AT gun up here anymore. It looks like Theoman did manage to kill that in the end. The 356mm off map now coming in from Theoman. Again, more focus on artillery. It's all very well. I don't mind him bringing in the off map, but he's got to make it hit the mark, and he's got to advance upon where it hit straight after. Otherwise, the choice of off map may not be quite the right one. Because to me, it looks like Theoman's reaching critical mass. Like I said before, he's had a lot of favourable engagements, and he can, now he has all this artillery, continue that lead, but it's still always slow. It's always infantry moving forwards. It's not like there's anything super fast here that's going to be pushing. I mean, you can even do it with the AA, right? You can bring in the MGMCs and the CGMCs and use them alongside your infantry to pin down enemy infantry and make them surrender. For the centre here though, Sturm Pioneers are going to be winning out against the Airborne Engineers. Pathfinders, will they open up against the Sturm Pioneers, I wonder? Yep, they will. Going to be forcing them to fall back and killing them off very quickly. But the half-track's now going to be opening up with the AA there. And, well, they're just going to fall back a building and they will be fine. Panzergrenz going to be pinned by the 50 cal and the M1 howitzer. We see the off-map now coming in on top of the Stug. See if that can kill the Stug. Direct hit actually might do the job. Okay, not quite a direct hit. Went into the front armor. Definitely pinned down everything. But an odd choice for me. Because I guess maybe it's dependent on what he can see, but he doesn't have anything here ready to push into this. So why would you try and pin down the Pak 38 and Panzergrenz here if you're not going to push into it? His M4, I think, was planning to, but with the transmission damage isn't going anywhere quickly. AA on the top side has been killed off. It looks like YueJin's going to be coming in very hard up here. Try and push on this top side. The M22 Locust was taken out. That must have been due to this Panzer IV-J, because I'm not sure the Panzer II Lux would have had that success, but maybe it did. More off-map now coming in on the bottom side. Is going to take out the AT gun down here, takes out the command, takes out the half-track. This is more like it. This was a very good strike. Now get that M4DD to go run down that road and take loads of ground. Fortunately, YueJin will have Armada 3 to sort of stop anything from fast moving all the way down. But this M4 can still get into a decent position. Just doesn't want to get itself killed right now by this Armada 3. Needs to come off that road ASAP. Has the Theoman even noticed? Currently he's just under fire. New AT gun on the way from YueJin. Whilst YueJin on this top side is actually making a lot of ground. Pioneers pushing in hot with the help of the Panzer IV-J and the Panzer II Lux. New M22 is arriving. Double mortar carrier here though is pinning down the infantry very easily. And things seem to be falling apart on that top side for Theoman. Armada 3 is able to get the track wheel destroyer onto the M4DD. Has all day long to find that kill. It's a really interesting game because I feel like Theoman should have been able to make more of a lead early on, but his strategy in using these howitzers has really slowed him down, and I can't really state that enough. In 1v1, I think using your Mustangs earlier on is a lot better than using howitzers. Howitzers are great for big team games, because a lot of people can buy AA in team games. But in 1v1s, even forcing someone to invest in AA is a good thing. Like, say if you bring in 2 Mustangs in phase A, and then your opponent starts buying in loads of AA, that's a good thing, because then you just switch to the howitzers afterwards. But if they don't buy in AA, then you have those hit and run aircraft that can really allow you to make quick plays and pin down multiple infantry, and then just make them surrender. Now the Lux here did finish off the Locust, I think after the Panzer IV-J hit it. Pioneers are still making ground with the help of the half-tracks. Things starting to fall apart on that top side for Theoman. New off-map coming in. Kind of misses the mark. Does manage to kill off that AA, but doesn't do too much damage to the half-tracks that are defending the other side of the town. Pack 40 is in the mid here, and that's going to be helping prevent this M4 from making any ground. But yeah, look at this continued push here from YueJin. He's really found momentum on this top side. Looks like the airborne rifles did manage to get a Zuka into the Panzer IV-J, which is definitely a good hit, because now there's nothing here really to stop the M4DD from pushing through. The Panzer II Lux might be able to do the job at close range, but these are all Pioneers, and they don't have Panzerfausts. So this M4 getting this aggressive is a really good idea, and this Panzer IV-J couldn't even fire back. Pack 40 is on the way on the side of YueJin. It looks like these airborne rifles got themselves into a really annoying position, and I like that a lot. They're going to be continuously running towards these half-tracks, but the half-tracks will be able to open up with their own MGs soon, if he's not too careful. Infantry has been brought into the centre to try and retake this town. Not sure if that's the best allocation of resources from YueJin. I much prefer it just with him having half-tracks around the edge. Stop any infantry from coming out of the town, rather than trying to push back in it to gain ground. And just continue to invest in this topside push, which has gone very well so far. So airborne rifles there are going to be falling back. Not really going to have anywhere to go, since they are surrounded. Pioneers are getting hit very hard. And any infantry that shows itself will probably die at this point to the M4DD. Those Panzergrenadier not long for this world, especially once another HE shot lands. The command, though, in the centre here, one of them has gone down. Stug 3 took care of that. M20 command, though, is holding position. M4DD in the centre was taken out. Probably by a combination of the Pack 40 and the Stug 3. That might allow this Stug 3 to come round and cut off this town area, which would then allow this infantry to be a lot more successful. But any infantry that does show itself at the moment is being hit very hard by the machine guns, and that is allowing these Panzergrenadiers and Pioneers to make ground. Airborne Bazooka has been revealed. Those Pioneers will take those out. Pathfinders also running across the open, going to get themselves killed. 50 cal has arrived to help out, but looks like YueJin set this up really well actually, with that mortar half-track there. Now with one of the M1 howitzers being spotted, ME109 GT-BR-21 going to come in, smash the duck alongside the M1 howitzer, so that is a double whammy there. Really nice strike actually, a really nice rocket strike from YueJin. And I'm still surprised to not see any Air Force out of Theoman. So M4 at close range. It just fired at the half-track there. That might allow this Lux to really do a fantastic job, and it did. Was that the Pack 40 finding the kill? I don't think it was. I think it was just the Lux. And you can see how previously I've mentioned people using the Panzer II Lux wrong there, but YueJin spot on. Fast moving that straight past the M4. The great thing about Panzer IIs is they can fire on the move very easily. So you can fast move them around a tank, basically do circles around the tank, and their tank will just continuously aim and not be able to get on target. And it's just a really easy way of getting kills at close range with the Panzer IIs. So yeah, really nicely done there by YueJin to find a Panzer II Lux kill onto an M4DD. That's pretty good. And after that, it looks like Theoman's going to surrender. And after 25 minutes and 52 seconds, that's going to be game. Pretty interesting one for sure. The choice of M1 howitzers from Theoman, I'm going to say it again, was probably the biggest mistake in this game in my opinion. Because it just slowed things down way too much. And that's 400 points into those howitzers. that could have been spent on ground forces and air force that would have been a billion times quicker, pushing into these favourable engagements that Theoman even managed to make. Like, especially in the early game, like a Locust taking out a Lux is really good, and you can push off that really well. But you just need those extra couple units that can quickly pin down the Panzergren, so you don't have to worry about them. Then you can just run them down with those units. And it's a shame that Theoman fell into the howitzer trap, which is a really good idea, like I said, again, for 3v3, 4v4, but not so much for like these 1v1 games. So, kills. Let's have a look. We have the airborne engineers killing some Stern pioneers there. That should normally be the case. M22 took out that Lux. This M22 took out that Lux. And again, 2 kills that were really significant in the early game, but that just weren't taken advantage of. 50 cal took out the Panzer 1C in the end. This M22 took out a few units. That's quite nice. These airborne rifles did pretty damn well. I think those were the ones that moved into the town there and actually made the ground in the end. You can see how little kills these got. Didn't even pay themselves off, these howitzers. This naval battery probably didn't do very well either. The only decent strike was the one on the bottom side, but again, it wasn't capitalized upon. And it seemed like YueJin just had a sixth sense on that, had the Marder 3 on the way anyway. So, yeah, this M4DD did take out the Panzer 4J on the top side, but ended up getting killed by the Lux at close range. In terms of YueJin, well, this looks... what a hero he was. Was that like one of the first ones that was brought in? Killed off 2 M22s and M4DD at close range. Very nice indeed. Pack 38s were really well placed actually from YueJin. Killed off a couple of M22s here and there. This one as well. Because that's like a 55-point AT gun, right? And it takes out a Lux, which is normally, I think, 60 points. So yeah, good job by those AT guns. This Marder 3 took out the M4 on the bottom side. I think Theoman was probably concentrating on the top where he was under pressure from YueJin, and YueJin took advantage of that. Stug 3 killed off the M3 gun, 50 cal glider leader in the mid. Pack 40 ended up finishing off the M4DD in the mid. So that's what happened. And yeah, interesting game for sure. I liked Theoman's use of the M22s. It's just a shame they weren't supported by the Mustang bombers in Phase A, as opposed to the mortars or to the howitzers. On the side of YueJin, definitely should have been punished more for his loss of the Lux early on, but stabilized really well and kept Theoman at bay enough to keep a +1 throughout the game. And yeah, just ran away with the victory in the end, especially after finding the kills onto the M4DDs, which are really the only thing left to stop YueJin from making loads of ground moving into Phase B and C. And that's basically what ended up happening. So, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. Hopefully I didn't say the word howitzer too much. But that's all for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.